In the grim darkness of the far future, where humanity's survival teeters on the edge of oblivion, a singular force operates in the shadows, a relentless embodiment of the Imperium's unyielding determination to purge its foes. The stage is set within a universe where loyalty is tested by treachery, where ancient rituals and unfathomable technology intertwine to create instruments of war beyond mortal comprehension. It is here that the Eversor assassin emerges, a being forged in secrecy and honed by a doctrine of absolute eradication. Before diving into the intricate web of allegiances and vendettas that permeate this tale, it is essential to grasp the stark reality of the universe in which these events unfold. The Imperium of Man, a colossal empire spanning countless worlds, is besieged on every front by enemies, both visible and unseen. Within this vast cosmic arena, survival is predicated on ruthless efficiency and uncompromising resolve. In a setting where faith in a divine destiny battles the cold logic of science, the instruments of war are as much symbols of ideology as they are means of extermination. The Eversor assassin is not merely a name whispered in hushed tones among those who dare to oppose the Imperium. It is a living embodiment of the Empire's most draconian measures. Conceived in a crucible of fanaticism and engineered for a singular purpose, this assassin is a paradox of both artistry and brutality. In the blurred line between zeal and madness, the Eversor assassin operates with a precision that defies conventional morality, acting as an executioner of those deemed irredeemable by the stern hand of the state. The narrative we embark upon does not dwell in the minutiae of strategy or the internal politics of the sprawling Imperium. Rather, it is an exploration of a mythic figure whose existence encapsulates the desperate measures taken to ensure the survival of a civilization on the brink. As you journey through the story, you will encounter hints of vast conspiracies, the interplay of ancient traditions and cutting-edge warfare, and the enduring question of what it means to sacrifice humanity for the sake of an unyielding creed. In setting the scene, imagine a world where every shadow hides a threat and every spark of light might ignite a conflagration. The Eversor assassin moves unseen, a specter in a realm where the boundary between order and chaos is not merely blurred, but obliterated by the fires of relentless conflict. It is within this context of perpetual war and existential dread that our story finds its foundation, a tale not just of violence, but of a profound ideological struggle that resonates through the corridors of power and the hearts of those who dare to defy fate. While the details of the forces and figures that orbit this lethal protagonist will be revealed in due course, what remains constant is the sheer scale of the Imperium's commitment to survival. The Eversor assassin is both a tool and a symbol, a manifestation of the Empire's willingness to embrace the most extreme measures in its quest for purity and strength. As you listen, let your imagination conjure the echoes of distant battles and the silent menace of an assassin whose very presence speaks of finality and unyielding resolve. In this prologue, we have merely scratched the surface, offering you a glimpse into a universe defined by its brutal contrasts and uncompromising vision. Prepare to delve deeper into the labyrinth of power, myth, and warfare, where every revelation builds towards a confrontation with the dark truths at the heart of the Imperium. Welcome to the world of the Eversor assassin, a killing machine sculpted by destiny, forever bound to the ceaseless conflict that defines an age of unending war. In the vast tapestry of the Imperium's instruments of power, several distinct factions and organizations play essential roles in the environment that gives rise to the Eversor assassin. Each group contributes to the overall structure of an empire, defined by uncompromising methods and a relentless pursuit of order. Their functions are unique, their responsibilities clearly delineated, and together they form the backdrop against which the deadly efficiency of the assassin is both forged and executed. At the forefront stands the secretive branch responsible for sanctioning and deploying surgical instruments of death. This organization exists solely to eliminate threats with a precision that borders on artistry in ruthlessness. Its operatives are bred and trained for one purpose: to carry out assignments that require no hesitation or remorse. Their methods, honed over countless covert campaigns, embody a doctrine of eradication that leaves little room for error. As the primary enforcers of the state's grim will, they serve as both the executioners of a purified vision and as the ever-present reminder of the Empire's resolve. Parallel to this lethal branch is the institution tasked with the investigation and suppression of heresy and insidious corruption. Charged with monitoring every whisper of dissent and every spark of ideological deviation, this body operates in the shadows, always vigilant against threats that might undermine the established order. Its agents wield authority that transcends normal legal bounds, acting as both judges and executioners when required. Their role is not to engage in conventional warfare, but to eradicate corruption at its root, ensuring that no subversive element is left to fester and undermine the Imperium's foundations. Another critical component is the collective of scholars and engineers responsible for the maintenance and advancement of the technological marvels that empower the assassin. This faction's mandate is to preserve ancient knowledge while simultaneously pushing the boundaries of mechanical innovation. They ensure that every piece of equipment, every armament, and every cybernetic enhancement is maintained at peak performance. Their expertise is crucial in keeping the assassin at the cutting edge of lethality, marrying archaic rituals with modern efficiency. In doing so, they provide the indispensable bridge between tradition and technology, allowing the killing machine to operate with unmatched precision. In close cooperation with these groups is the religious body whose doctrinal influence pervades every aspect of the Empire's strategy. This institution imbues the use of extreme measures with a sense of divine sanction, framing the elimination of perceived impurities as a sacred duty. Its sermons and decrees reinforce the moral imperative behind such decisive action, offering a spiritual justification for actions that are as brutal as they are necessary. By instilling an unyielding belief in the righteousness of their cause, the clergy ensures that every operative, from the silent assassin to the most ruthless inquisitor, remains unwavering in their mission. The colossal armies that form the bulk of the Imperium's fighting force also play a supporting role in this grand design. While their primary function is to hold vast territories and engage in open warfare, they provide the necessary muscle to complement the precision strikes delivered by their shadowy counterparts. In a well-coordinated effort, these legions enforce the imperious will across innumerable worlds, establishing a network of control that reaches into every corner of the Empire. Their presence underscores the scale of the regime's commitment to total dominance, even if their methods differ vastly from those employed in clandestine operations. In opposition to the forces of the Imperium, various subversive factions lurk on the fringes. These adversaries, though diverse in origin and motive, share a common goal of destabilizing the established order. They range from fanatical cults to insurgent warbands, each united by a hatred for the regime and a desire to see its downfall. Though they operate with disjointed strategies and inconsistent discipline, their mere existence provides the catalyst for the deployment of the assassin. Their chaos-driven ideology stands in stark contrast to the systematic rigor of the Empire, making them both targets and symbols of what the assassin is engineered to obliterate. Additionally, a cadre of independent operatives and mercenary groups sometimes finds itself entwined in these grand machinations. Although not officially sanctioned by the state, their actions often inadvertently align with the overarching goals of the Imperium. They work on the periphery of the Empire's strict hierarchy, filling gaps in enforcement where official channels may falter. Their sporadic interventions and the unpredictable nature of their allegiances add another layer of complexity to an already intricate web of power and control. Finally, an assortment of shadowy councils and clandestine committees plays an advisory role behind closed doors. These bodies, composed of high-ranking officials and seasoned strategists, determine the broader parameters within which the assassin operates. Their decisions, made far from public scrutiny, set the stage for the use of extreme measures and ensure that every calculated strike serves a larger purpose. They are the unseen architects of the state's relentless drive toward purification and order, coordinating efforts across multiple agencies and disciplines. Together, these factions create a multifaceted environment where the Eversor assassin exists not as an isolated figure, but as an integral component of a complex system of power. Each group contributes its expertise, authority, and vision to sustain an empire that is as ruthless in its pursuit of order as it is uncompromising in its methods. The interplay among these diverse bodies forms the silent framework supporting a narrative of lethal precision, where every faction plays a role in shaping the destiny of an Imperium defined by its absolute resolve to survive and dominate. In the preceding decades, the Imperium experienced a convergence of pressures that forced its leadership to reimagine methods of control and suppression. The steady expansion of territories brought with it not only distant frontiers, but also an increase in unforeseen challenges. The rapid pace of industrial growth, combined with the vastness of newly integrated worlds, resulted in logistical nightmares and deep-seated societal strain. In many regions, the once familiar bonds of tradition and civic order began to fray under the weight of technological change and cultural divergence. Amid this upheaval, pockets of dissent and rebellion emerged, fueled by a mixture of desperation and disillusionment with the established order. Over time, these disturbances escalated from minor acts of insubordination into widespread episodes of civil unrest. Local leaders, previously trusted to mediate disputes and uphold stability, found themselves overwhelmed by the rising tide of discontent. As regional conflicts became more frequent, the risk of full-scale insurrection grew, prompting those in charge to seek methods that could restore absolute control with minimal ambiguity. Concurrently, the long-standing challenge of external threats continued unabated. Border systems that once provided reliable protection became vulnerable as enemy forces grew bolder in their incursions. The frequency of skirmishes along critical frontiers increased, and intelligence reports began to detail coordinated assaults by organized opposition groups. These external pressures compounded the internal instability, creating a scenario in which the existing measures of defense and discipline were deemed insufficient. Leaders within the regime recognized that conventional tactics could no longer guarantee the continuity of their rule, especially in light of emerging technologies and ever more sophisticated enemy strategies. Economic disparities also contributed to the growing unrest. Resource allocation had long favored the central authorities, but as the empire's frontiers expanded, the distribution of wealth became increasingly uneven. Local populations, feeling marginalized and exploited, turned their frustrations into organized movements that threatened to spiral into chaos. The strain on the state's coffers as it struggled to maintain infrastructure and military readiness across vast distances added a further dimension to the crisis. In this environment, even minor disturbances had the potential to trigger large-scale destabilization as communities united in the protest against perceived injustices. Within the corridors of power, there was a mounting sense of urgency to develop a solution that would not only address the immediate threats, but also serve as a deterrent to future insurrections. Strategic discussions evolved rapidly as decision-makers sought to harness the potential of emerging technologies and innovative military doctrines. It became evident that to reassert dominance, the regime would need to deploy a measure that was both swift and uncompromising, a force that could strike fear into the hearts of potential rebels and enemy forces alike. The necessity of such an instrument was underscored by repeated failures of previous campaigns to quash the growing tide of dissent. At the heart of these strategic shifts was the realization that precision and overwhelming lethality could act as a powerful counterbalance to both internal and external challenges. The focus shifted from broad-brush policies of repression to targeted, almost surgical interventions designed to eliminate trouble before it could escalate. This reorientation of priorities led to the commissioning of specialized programs aimed at creating the ultimate enforcer. Engineers, strategists, and doctrinal experts were brought together to conceptualize a tool of war that would not tolerate any deviation from the prescribed order. The idea was simple, yet radical. To develop an operative whose very existence served as a constant reminder of the Empire's capacity for absolute retribution. In the months leading up to this turning point, covert experiments and field tests were conducted with a level of secrecy that defied conventional oversight. Research facilities operated under a veil of utmost discretion, driven by the belief that conventional paradigms of warfare were inadequate in the face of evolving threats. Reports from these clandestine projects noted rapid advancements in both combat techniques and the integration of mechanized enhancements. Each trial, each successful operation, further cemented the belief among high-ranking officials that the future of maintaining order lay in the fusion of human determination with engineered precision. Simultaneously, administrative bodies and military councils observed an alarming increase in instances of both petty insurrections and organized sabotage. The inability of traditional law enforcement mechanisms to cope with these challenges, combined with a growing impatience among the ruling class, set the stage for an unprecedented shift in tactical doctrine. The leadership, increasingly convinced that half measures would only lead to the eventual disintegration of their power, endorsed a radical course of action. This decisive turn was not merely about quelling disturbances. It was about sending a resounding message that any form of dissent would be met with an unyielding and calculated response. Thus, a series of converging crises, internal discord, external aggression, economic inequity, and administrative paralysis, coalesced into a situation that demanded an extraordinary solution. The call for an operative who embodied the unrelenting force of the regime was not born out of a desire for brute strength alone, but rather as a deliberate strategy to preemptively neutralize threats at their inception. This chain of events, marked by escalating tensions and an uncompromising need for control, paved the way for the emergence of a singular killing machine, a figure whose very design was intended to restore balance and silence the chaos that had come to define the current era. The evolution of events leading to the rise of this singular operative can be divided into distinct phases that marked a steady progression from mere concept to the fully realized enforcer now woven into the fabric of the Imperium's arsenal. In the earliest stage, long before the formal adoption of the project, intellectual and strategic circles began to outline a vision for a new kind of operative. At this time, abstract ideas were formulated in isolated committees and research cells, where the need for a mechanism capable of extreme and decisive action was debated in hushed discussions. The earliest documents, hidden away in secure archives, reveal sketches of unconventional methods for combining enhanced combat capabilities with rigorous training regimens. In these nascent moments, the focus was on exploring the boundaries of human potential, examining the possibility of a system that could execute orders without hesitation or vulnerability. As initial ideas coalesced, the next phase emerged in the form of controlled experiments conducted in specialized facilities. During this period, key research teams working in absolute secrecy took the theoretical framework and began developing prototypes. This stage was marked by iterative testing, with numerous trials refining both the physical construction and the operational doctrines behind the enforcer. In carefully managed environments, the prototypes were subjected to simulated combat scenarios, with results meticulously documented and analyzed. Adjustments were made with each successive trial, and innovations in both tactical execution and engineering design steadily transformed the concept into something more tangible. These experiments, though shrouded in absolute confidentiality, laid the groundwork for the integration of advanced technologies into an operative capable of responding to complex combat situations with extraordinary efficiency. Following the experimental phase, the project entered a period of synthesis and operational refinement. In this stage, the lessons learned from laboratory trials were merged with field insights gathered from discrete observational studies. New training protocols were devised to ensure that the operative could adapt to rapidly shifting combat conditions while remaining focused on mission objectives. Innovations in equipment and armament design were integrated with a revised operational doctrine that emphasized both speed and lethal precision. During this period, a series of internal evaluations confirmed that the evolving Enforcer could be deployed in a range of environments, from dense urban battlefields to remote conflict zones. The development teams coordinated with strategic planners to fine-tune the balance between raw power and the necessity of remaining an instrument of calculated intervention. As confidence in the project grew, the initiative moved into a more formalized stage where operational deployment was contemplated and planned with increasing urgency. This transitional period saw the initial field testing of fully developed units in controlled operations that served as both proof of concept and as a demonstration of the operative's potential. These exercises, conducted under strict oversight, allowed high-ranking strategists to witness firsthand the impact of a force that could neutralize emerging threats with ruthless efficiency. Operational tactics were adjusted based on these real-world scenarios, and feedback loops between the field and the development centers became the lifeblood of continuous improvement. At this juncture, the operative was not only a subject of theoretical study, but had become a practical tool, poised to be integrated into broader military strategies without compromising the delicate balance of power. In the final phase, the transition from experimental asset to a critical element of strategic operations was completed. The operative's capabilities were now fully embedded in a structured framework of deployment protocols and contingency plans. A formal approval process endorsed the use of these operatives in designated missions where conventional forces might falter or be encumbered by bureaucratic delay. The operative was systematically deployed in targeted interventions across multiple regions, their actions meticulously coordinated with the larger strategic objectives of the state. Their presence was intended to send a clear signal to potential dissenters and external adversaries alike, a reminder that every challenge, no matter how deeply rooted, would be met with a response engineered for absolute termination. This stage marked not only the operational integration of the Enforcer, but also the crystallization of a new paradigm in how the Imperium addressed its most critical security challenges. Throughout these progressive stages, each phase built upon the successes and insights of its predecessor, ensuring that the operative evolved in a measured and deliberate fashion. The transformation from an abstract concept into a fully functional tool of warfare was neither abrupt nor accidental. It was the result of a systematic, multi-layered process that spanned years of concentrated effort. Every step was characterized by a commitment to precision, innovation, and adaptability, culminating in the creation of an operative whose existence redefined the boundaries of enforcement. The unfolding of these stages not only illustrates a remarkable journey of development, but also underscores the inherent necessity of such extreme measures in a universe where threats evolve with relentless persistence. In a clandestine meeting held behind fortified walls and under an unyielding veil of secrecy, a singular decision was reached that would forever alter the course of the Imperium's approach to internal security and external threats. This was not a gradual shift, but a moment of stark clarity, a decisive pivot born from the mounting pressures of unmanageable disorder and an unrelenting enemy presence. In that critical session, high-ranking strategists and military advisors convened to evaluate the merits of fully integrating the operative into the Empire's strategic framework. Their deliberations, marked by urgency and a palpable sense of foreboding, culminated in the unequivocal endorsement of deploying the operative as the ultimate instrument of repression and order. The catalyst for this moment was a series of events that had strained the conventional military apparatus to its breaking point. Persistent challenges that had previously been contained through measured responses now demanded an answer that was swift and absolute. During the meeting, Data streams and intelligence reports were laid out in meticulous detail, highlighting the repeated failures of traditional methods to neutralize rapidly evolving threats. The accumulated evidence pointed to a reality where half measures were no longer viable and where only an operative of unparalleled efficiency could restore the balance. In the midst of these discussions, one particular report caught the attention of the Council, a detailed account of an insurgency that had spiraled dangerously close to igniting widespread rebellion in a key sector of the Empire. The report underscored the brutal consequences of delay and indecision, emphasizing that any further hesitation would imperil not only the immediate region, but also the broader stability of the entire Dominion. With every minute that passed, the urgency within the chamber intensified. Opinions that had long been divided began to converge on a singular course of action: the immediate and unfettered deployment of the operative. This decision was not taken lightly, for it represented a marked departure from centuries-old traditions of measured enforcement. Instead, it embraced an unyielding doctrine of precision strikes and calculated eradication, intended to serve as a deterrent against any future challenges to the Empire's authority. The discussions were frank and unvarnished, with each advisor weighing the potential costs against the anticipated benefits. Many acknowledged that the new operative, though untested in large-scale combat operations, offered a level of rapid responsiveness and surgical precision that conventional forces simply could not match. In the hours that followed, the Council agreed on a set of parameters that would govern the operative's use. These guidelines were meticulously crafted to ensure that, while the operative's deployment would be swift and decisive, it would also remain under strict control. The decision-makers were acutely aware of the inherent risks involved in entrusting such power to a single tool, yet they also recognized that the status quo was no longer an option. It was determined that the operative would be activated under conditions where immediate action was necessary to quell insurrection or to neutralize threats before they could escalate into systemic crises. The parameters delineated clear thresholds for engagement, ensuring that the operative's lethal capabilities would be invoked only when the situation demanded absolute certainty of success. The turning point itself was marked by a formal resolution, a document sealed with the highest insignia of authority, that authorized the full-scale integration of the operative into the Empire's security apparatus. This resolution was not merely a bureaucratic formality, it was a symbolic and practical commitment to a new era of enforcement. The language of the document was unambiguous, declaring that any delay or dilution of the operative's mandate would be tantamount to jeopardizing the entire Empire's stability. In signing the resolution, the Council acknowledged that the operative was not simply another weapon among many, but rather the embodiment of a decisive strategy that prioritized rapid and irrevocable action over measured deliberation. In the aftermath of the resolution, immediate steps were taken to mobilize the operative. Logistical channels that had long been dormant were suddenly activated, and a series of covert operations were planned to test the operative's readiness in controlled environments. The decision spurred a flurry of activity across multiple levels of the administration. Training regimens were intensified, supply lines were rerouted to prioritize rapid deployment, and intelligence units were tasked with monitoring potential flashpoints that might require the operative's intervention. Every echelon of command was now aligned under a single objective: to ensure that the operative's activation would serve as a turning point, a clear message that the Empire would tolerate no further deviation from the path of absolute order. This pivotal decision was driven by a profound recognition that the environment in which the Empire operated had changed irreversibly. The old methods had proven inadequate, and the stakes had risen beyond what traditional tactics could manage. In embracing the operative, the Council effectively closed the door on ambiguity and indecision. The decision was a bold declaration that in the face of existential threats, the Empire would not hesitate to employ its most extreme measures. The operative, now fully sanctioned and backed by an unyielding mandate, was poised to become the definitive answer to the chaos that had once seemed insurmountable. In retrospect, this turning point stands as a watershed moment in the evolution of the Imperium's approach to security. It encapsulated a strategic epiphany, a realization that to preserve the sanctity of order, it was sometimes necessary to adopt measures that defied conventional wisdom. The decision resonated far beyond the confines of that hidden chamber, setting in motion a chain of events that would redefine the nature of enforcement and the very concept of power within the Empire. With the resolution in place, the stage was irrevocably set for the operative to emerge as the ultimate arbiter of the Imperium's will, marking the dawn of a new era where precision and ruthlessness became the cornerstones of survival. In the wake of the operative's introduction, the cosmos witnessed a dramatic shift in the balance of power and the way conflict was waged. The immediate impact was felt on multiple levels, altering established protocols and reshaping the perceptions of both allies and adversaries. Tactical doctrines, once built on gradual escalation and measured force, now had to contend with an agent capable of instantaneous and decisive action. This sudden infusion of overwhelming lethality forced military strategists across the realms to reassess their approach, reordering defensive postures and recalibrating offensive plans. The presence of such an operative served as an undeniable signal that hesitation had become a luxury the universe could no longer afford. Instantaneous reactions to the operative's deployment were evident among enemy factions, who were now compelled to alter long-held strategies. Groups that had relied on stealth, misdirection, and protracted campaigns found themselves facing an opponent whose methods left little room for conventional countermeasures. Tactical retreats were hastily organized, and insurgent cells were compelled to disband or risk complete annihilation at the first sign of coordinated action. This new era of rapid intervention disrupted long-established power bases, forcing both insurgents and external foes into defensive postures that had not existed in previous conflicts. The ripple effects of these changes extended beyond isolated skirmishes, undermining the organizational structures that had once thrived on calculated resistance. At the political level, the introduction of this killing machine prompted immediate and sweeping reforms within the ruling institutions. Decision-makers, recognizing the utility of such an extreme measure, initiated emergency sessions to integrate the operative's capabilities into broader policy frameworks. Administrative agencies were restructured to support rapid mobilization and real-time intelligence exchange, ensuring that the deployment of this force was both efficient and strategically coordinated. The very fabric of governance was affected as new oversight committees and expedited approval processes emerged, designed to bridge the gap between the operative's rapid response potential and the more deliberate pace of traditional bureaucracy. These changes, while controversial in some circles, were embraced as necessary adaptations in a universe where delay could mean the difference between order and chaos. The immediate cultural and societal ramifications were equally profound. Populations across countless worlds began to view the operative as both a symbol of unyielding strength and a stark reminder of the regime's capacity for unmitigated violence. In urban centers and remote outposts alike, whispers of the killing machine quickly transformed into a pervasive aura of dread among those who opposed the established order. Citizens, once accustomed to a blend of hope and fear in the face of authoritarian control, now encountered an entirely new level of intimidation, a force whose mere existence compelled conformity and submission. In many regions, the sudden appearance of this figure recalibrated public opinion, with support for harsh measures growing as communities recognized that only extreme actions could restore a semblance of stability in turbulent times. Within the strategic theaters of war, the operative's actions set off an immediate chain reaction. Intelligence networks, previously burdened with the slow pace of traditional reporting, were invigorated by the necessity for real-time updates and rapid communication. This shift fostered an environment where data collection and swift analysis became paramount, leading to technological enhancements and streamlined command protocols. Military leaders began to experiment with new forms of battlefield coordination, leveraging the speed and precision of the operative to create dynamic response units that could be deployed at a moment's notice. The result was a reorganization of combat tactics that blurred the line between conventional warfare and covert operations, establishing an operational tempo that left little room for enemy maneuvering. Economic ramifications also emerged almost instantaneously. Regions that had once been hubs of resistance or hotbeds of insurgency found their markets and supply lines disrupted by the rapid onset of fear and uncertainty. Trade networks, vital for sustaining both local economies and military logistics, were forced to adapt to the new reality of swift, decisive interference. The shift in economic dynamics was not limited to conflict zones. Even distant planetary systems, once insulated from the direct impact of such operations, began to experience collateral effects. Investments in security technologies surged, and a new market for rapid deployment systems and defensive infrastructure sprang up almost overnight, fundamentally altering the economic landscape. Furthermore, the immediate repercussions extended to the realm of ideology and morale. Propaganda machines on both sides of the conflict were quick to seize upon the dramatic impact of the operatives' actions, weaving narratives that either celebrated the decisive restoration of order or decried the overwhelming force as a sign of unchecked oppression. Public discourse, once a mixture of cautious optimism and resigned pragmatism, shifted toward polarized extremes. On one hand, loyalists saw the operative as the ultimate guarantor of stability, a necessary counterbalance to an ever-encroaching tide of chaos. On the other, critics decried the loss of nuance in a universe now defined by binary choices, absolute order versus utter annihilation. This ideological schism further deepened societal divisions, creating an atmosphere of heightened tension and uncertainty. In summation, the immediate impact of this formidable asset resonated across the spectrum of military, political, economic, and cultural domains. Its arrival precipitated a cascade of rapid adjustments that redefined the rules of engagement, forcing every actor in the universe to confront a new reality, one where decisive action trumped deliberation, and where the price of inaction was measured in lives, territories, and the very essence of order itself. The transformation was swift, uncompromising, and irrevocable, leaving an indelible mark on the cosmos as it adapted to a paradigm where the balance between stability and chaos was recalibrated by the presence of a singular, unyielding force. The discussion among enthusiasts frequently gravitates toward the distinctive blend of technology, doctrine, and almost mythic ferocity embodied by this operative. One of the most captivating elements is the intricate integration of advanced cybernetic enhancements with an unyielding combat ethos. Fans are intrigued by the notion that such an entity is not merely a collection of parts, but a synthesis of cutting-edge engineering and fervent ideological training. The juxtaposition of mechanical precision and near-religious zeal has spurred debates about the nature of free will versus predetermined programming. Some argue that the operative's behavior raises questions about whether it functions as a fully autonomous agent or merely as a vessel for the imperatives imposed by its creators. This tension between human determination and engineered obedience is a recurring theme in community discussions, with many pondering the cost of absolute efficiency. Another aspect that captivates the community is the operative's arsenal, which is as much a work of art as it is a tool of war. Detailed renderings and fan-made blueprints circulate online, highlighting the array of integrated weaponry and specialized systems that allow the operative to adapt to diverse combat scenarios. The design philosophy, which emphasizes rapid lethality and extreme versatility, sparks conversations about the balance between brute force and surgical precision. Fans often compare this approach to traditional military doctrines, noting that while conventional units rely on strategic coordination and collective effort, this killing machine is crafted to function as a solitary force multiplier. The notion that a single operative can decisively alter the outcome of a confrontation, transforming chaos into order with a few swift actions, resonates deeply within a community that values both narrative depth and tactical ingenuity. A further point of fascination lies in the psychological and symbolic dimensions of the operative. Unlike conventional warriors whose motivations are often steeped in personal honor or legacy, this figure is portrayed as an embodiment of an uncompromising mandate. Its very presence is intended to instill a sense of foreboding, a reminder of the absolute measures that the Empire is willing to employ to maintain order. This aspect has given rise to a wealth of speculative fiction and fan theories that explore the potential internal conflicts of such a being. Some enthusiasts suggest that beneath the cold exterior lies a spark of individuality, a remnant of the human element that might one day rebel against its conditioning. Others counter that the operative's design intentionally leaves no room for personal sentiment, reinforcing the concept that in a universe governed by relentless necessity, emotion is a liability. This debate over the operative's inner life and capacity for change fuels countless discussions on forums and in fan art, where creators often envision alternative narratives that humanize this lethal enforcer without diluting its core purpose. Visual aesthetics also play a significant role in the ongoing discourse. The fusion of Gothic architecture, ritualistic motifs, and stark futuristic elements in the operative's design has inspired a subgenre of art that emphasizes contrasts between light and shadow, decay and renewal, mortality and mechanization. Artists and modelers spend hours debating the nuances of armor design, the interplay of intricate engravings with cold metallic surfaces, and the symbolic significance of each component. These creative interpretations often serve as a bridge between the lore and the fans' personal visions of a universe where even the most devastating force carries an element of tragic beauty. The visual narrative, as much as the operational one, invites viewers to consider that the operative is not just a tool for extermination, but a moving testament to the lengths to which a society will go to secure its survival. Moreover, the operative's role as a counterpoint to more traditional figures in the lore has spurred extensive analysis of its place within the broader tapestry of the Imperium's narrative. While other agents of enforcement might operate through networks of influence, subtle persuasion, or large-scale military might, this killing machine represents the epitome of immediate, unyielding intervention. Its existence challenges long-held assumptions about the nature of power, suggesting that in an environment where threats evolve at an ever-accelerating pace, the only viable response may be one that prioritizes decisive action over measured deliberation. Fans frequently discuss how this operative redefines the boundaries of tactical engagement, comparing its methods to both historical figures of terror and modern concepts of robotic warfare. The discussions extend to the philosophical implications of such a weapon, whether it signifies a regression to a more brutal form of control or an evolutionary step toward an entirely new paradigm of conflict management. Lastly, the community is captivated by the enduring mystery surrounding the operative's origins and its ultimate purpose. Every new piece of official lore or fan speculation adds layers of complexity to an already multifaceted figure. The operative is often seen as a living paradox, a creation that embodies both the ultimate solution to disorder and the most profound reminder of the cost of absolute power. This duality is what makes the discussions so rich and varied. Some interpret the operative as a cautionary tale about the dangers of sacrificing humanity at the altar of efficiency, while others view it as an inevitable response to an unforgiving universe. The allure of this unresolved tension ensures that debates, artworks, and literary explorations will continue to thrive as fans seek to understand not only the mechanics of the killing machine, but also the deeper philosophical questions it poses. In summary, the unique aspects of this operative, its cybernetic integration, multifaceted weaponry, symbolic weight, striking visual design, and the philosophical inquiries it inspires, combine to create a subject of endless fascination. These elements, woven together with layers of mystery and ideological complexity, have cemented its place as a centerpiece of discussion within the fan community, where every new interpretation only adds to the rich tapestry of ideas surrounding the killing machine of the Imperium. Across the sprawling narrative of the killing machine's legacy, several remarkable individuals have emerged whose distinct qualities and personal trajectories have significantly shaped its perception and deployment. These personalities, each marked by a unique blend of ambition, resilience, and vulnerability, represent the multifaceted nature of an era defined by relentless enforcement and uncompromising purpose. One such figure is the visionary strategist whose insights into the evolving theater of conflict have propelled radical shifts in operational doctrine. Known for an unyielding determination to push the boundaries of conventional warfare, this individual combines analytical brilliance with an almost preternatural instinct for anticipating emerging threats. Their approach is characterized by a willingness to embrace innovative solutions, even if those measures blur the line between necessity and excess. While their decisiveness has won them accolades among supporters, the same qualities have also attracted criticism from those who view their methods as dangerously unrestrained. This strategist's strengths lie in their ability to synthesize vast arrays of intelligence and adapt tactics with swift precision. Yet, their impatience for bureaucratic delay sometimes results in decisions that carry significant collateral risks. In another corner of the narrative stands a high-ranking commander renowned for a reputation built on both fierce loyalty and uncompromising rigor. This leader has spent years honing an unwavering resolve, emerging from a long career of service marked by battles that tested the limits of endurance and honor. Their personal aim has been to instill a sense of absolute discipline in every echelon of command, believing that only through an ironclad chain of orders can the delicate balance between chaos and order be maintained. Their strengths are evident in their exceptional tactical acumen and the ability to rally disparate units around a single, unyielding cause. However, beneath the polished exterior of authority lies a deeply ingrained rigidity that, at times, stifles creative problem-solving. Their uncompromising nature, while ensuring swift execution of orders, occasionally overlooks the nuanced human element that can be crucial in adapting to unforeseen challenges. A third personality whose influence is deeply woven into the operative story is the seasoned researcher and engineer behind many of the technological marvels integral to the killing machine's design. This individual's career is marked by a profound commitment to the pursuit of excellence in technological integration, blending centuries-old traditions with contemporary innovations. Their work is fueled by a relentless curiosity and an insatiable drive to perfect every mechanical and digital interface that constitutes the operative's lethal capabilities. Their greatest strength is an almost obsessive attention to detail, ensuring that every subsystem performs flawlessly under the most extreme conditions. Yet, this same meticulousness can sometimes manifest as an inability to compromise or adjust designs in the face of emergent field data, leading to conflicts with more pragmatically minded officers who demand flexibility over perfection. In stark contrast to these institutional figures is a maverick operative, an individual whose personal journey has been shaped by disillusionment with the systemic harshness of their environment. Once a staunch supporter of the prevailing order, this personality experienced a crisis of conscience that gradually eroded the certainty of their earlier convictions. Their internal struggle is marked by a keen awareness of the moral ambiguities inherent in a regime that demands absolute sacrifice in the name of security. As a result, they have become a figure of both admiration and controversy among peers and critics alike. Their greatest asset is a unique ability to question and, at times, subvert the rigid dogmas that define their world, offering alternative perspectives on what true service and sacrifice might entail. Yet, this same introspection can also be a crippling weakness, leaving them vulnerable to manipulation by those who seek to exploit their doubts and, in some instances, casting them aside as unreliable in the eyes of traditional hierarchies. Another influential personality is the charismatic orator who has, through stirring rhetoric and personal magnetism, managed to galvanize a substantial following among both the loyalists and even certain dissident elements. This figure's appeal lies in their capacity to articulate a vision that transcends the brutal immediacy of the operative's function, evoking themes of redemption, unity, and the possibility of transformation even in the most unforgiving circumstances. They possess an uncanny ability to distill complex doctrines into compelling narratives that resonate deeply with audiences who long for a sense of purpose amid the pervasive despair. Their strengths include persuasive eloquence and an empathetic connection with the masses, qualities that have enabled them to mobilize support and even influence high-level policy debates. However, the potency of their rhetoric can sometimes give way to overreach, with promises that are difficult to sustain in the face of relentless pragmatism, exposing them to accusations of idealism that may undermine the hard-edged realism required by their peers. Yet another noteworthy figure is the tactician whose expertise in field operations has rendered them indispensable during critical deployments of the operative. Their experience on the front lines has earned them a reputation as an exceptional problem solver who thrives in environments where split-second decisions determine the outcome of engagements. This individual is renowned for an adaptive mindset that seamlessly integrates unpredictable variables into coherent strategies, often devising unconventional methods to neutralize threats that defy standard protocols. Their strength lies in the fusion of instinct and learned expertise, a combination that has repeatedly ensured success in high-stakes scenarios. However, their reliance on intuitive judgment occasionally places them at odds with the more regimented data-driven frameworks imposed by upper command, leading to moments of friction that underscore the ongoing tension between flexibility and order. Together, these personalities form a mosaic of ambition, pragmatism, idealism, and introspection, each contributing uniquely to the complex narrative surrounding the killing machine. Their individual qualities, goals, and the inherent interplay between their strengths and vulnerabilities serve as a testament to the multifaceted human dimension underlying an otherwise mechanized doctrine of unyielding enforcement. In debates and discussions within the community, their contrasting traits fuel passionate analyses and divergent interpretations of what the operative truly represents, a force that is as much about the embodiment of extreme measures as it is about the personal costs and moral dilemmas faced by those who wield it. Among the myriad discussions that have taken shape in the wake of the operative's emergence, several unresolved questions and speculative theories continue to spark impassioned debates. One of the most contentious issues centers on the fundamental nature of its programming and the possibility of emergent self-awareness. Despite extensive analysis, experts remain divided on whether the operative is merely a flawlessly executed extension of its creator's will, or if it harbors a latent capacity for independent thought. This uncertainty fuels discussions about the balance between engineered obedience and any potential for spontaneity, with some theorists positing that even a meticulously controlled system might eventually exhibit signs of autonomous decision-making. The debate is further complicated by whispers of experimental modifications that could have inadvertently introduced a rudimentary form of self-awareness, a notion that, if true, might redefine the operative's role in the broader spectrum of conflict and control. Another provocative theory involves the obscure origins of the operative's technological and doctrinal foundations. While official records outline a trajectory of progressive innovation and secretive development, several inconsistencies persist that invite speculation. Some researchers suggest that the operative's design might have been influenced by lost knowledge or even by clandestine contacts with ancient technologies whose true capabilities remain shrouded in mystery. These theories often point to unexplained anomalies in the operative's performance, subtle behaviors or responses that defy conventional logic. For instance, there have been sporadic reports of the killing machine exhibiting tactical choices that appear to deviate from pre-programmed protocols, leading some to wonder if an external, perhaps even mystical influence might be at work. Such ideas, while lacking definitive evidence, continue to generate interest and debate among historians and techno-philosophers alike. The question of moral agency also stands as a central unresolved issue. Observers frequently ask whether the operative's actions executed with ruthless precision can ever be reconciled with broader ethical frameworks. Is it merely a tool, stripped of any moral burden, or does the sheer scale of its impact demand a deeper ethical scrutiny? Some theorists argue that the operative's design intentionally removes personal accountability, thus absolving it of the moral implications of its actions. Others contend that the consistent use of extreme measures introduces a dangerous precedent, one that might erode the very fabric of societal ethics over time. These discussions are often charged with emotional intensity as they touch on the core values of a civilization that must balance survival with principles of justice and human dignity. A further dimension of unresolved inquiry involves the operative's integration within the existing hierarchical structures and power dynamics. While its deployment was intended as a decisive answer to emergent threats, questions linger about the long-term consequences of relying so heavily on a singular, overwhelming force. Some political theorists caution that overdependence on such an operative might lead to a concentration of power that undermines the checks and balances traditionally maintained within the empire. This theory posits that the operative, by virtue of its infallible reputation and lethal capabilities, could inadvertently become a symbol of unchallenged authority, one that might eventually distort the principles of governance. Debates in this arena often explore scenarios where the operative's presence alters the strategic calculus of rival factions and even reshapes diplomatic interactions, with its influence extending far beyond the immediate theater of combat. Speculation also abounds regarding the possible evolution of the operative's capabilities over time. Some proponents of the advanced theories believe that continuous exposure to the chaos of real-world operations might trigger adaptive changes within the operative systems. These changes could manifest as incremental improvements in efficiency or even as unforeseen behaviors that were not part of the original design. Such ideas draw on analogies with natural evolution, suggesting that even a construct forged for absolute precision might, under relentless pressure, develop traits that reflect a form of adaptive intelligence. Critics of this notion argue that the operative's architecture is too rigid to allow for such organic transformation, yet the possibility remains a fertile ground for theoretical exploration. In addition, there is an ongoing debate regarding the potential for external interference in the operative's functioning. Rumors circulate about the involvement of enigmatic entities and secret societies that might have exerted covert influence during its creation, embedding hidden directives or contingency protocols that could be activated under specific circumstances. This theory, while largely speculative, adds an element of conspiracy to the narrative, suggesting that the operative's actions might sometimes serve purposes beyond the overt objectives of its creators. The implications of such hidden layers of control are profound, raising questions about the true locus of power and whether the observable actions of the operative are merely the surface of a more intricate, shadowy agenda. Finally, the broader philosophical implications of deploying an entity designed for extreme measures continue to provoke thought. The operative stands as a stark emblem of a paradigm in which the line between necessary security and oppressive domination becomes perilously thin. This duality invites endless questioning. Can an operative designed to embody absolute enforcement ever be reconciled with the evolving notions of individual freedom and ethical responsibility? Or does its existence signal a permanent shift toward a future where technological determinism overrides humanistic concerns? These unresolved questions serve as a catalyst for interdisciplinary dialogues, drawing in perspectives from technology, ethics, political science, and even art, each offering its own interpretation of what the killing machine represents in the grand tapestry of the Imperium. In summary, the unresolved questions and theories surrounding this operative are as multifaceted as they are intriguing. From the enigma of potential self-awareness and mysterious origins to the ethical, political, and evolutionary implications of its existence, every unanswered aspect fuels a rich and ongoing discourse. These discussions not only highlight the operative's complexity, but also serve as a mirror reflecting the broader uncertainties of a universe caught between the imperatives of survival and the ideals of progress. In the years and decades that follow the advent of this operative, the very fabric of the universe is poised to experience transformative shifts that will redefine the nature of power and control. The introduction of such an extreme enforcer is not a fleeting event. Rather, it sets in motion a series of long-term consequences that will reverberate through the corridors of governance, military strategy, and societal norms. While immediate effects have already disrupted established doctrines and altered tactical calculations, the enduring legacy of this killing machine is likely to manifest in both constructive innovations and potentially destabilizing developments. One of the most significant ramifications lies in the evolution of strategic doctrine. With the success of rapid, targeted interventions, the broader military and security apparatus is expected to increasingly favor precision and efficiency over traditional large-scale mobilizations. This shift will likely lead to the widespread adoption of rapid response units that mirror the operative's modus operandi, creating an environment where calculated, decisive action becomes the norm. On one hand, such a transformation can instill a sense of order and predictability, enabling state actors to quell disturbances before they spiral out of control. On the other, this reliance on instantaneous force may also erode the capacity for measured, deliberative responses, potentially sidelining more nuanced approaches to conflict resolution. In the political arena, the long-term impact of deploying an operative of such unparalleled capability may alter the dynamics of power distribution. The operative's success in delivering swift retribution could inadvertently pave the way for centralized authority to consolidate power further. As decision-makers lean increasingly on the promise of immediate results, there is a risk that the balance between authoritarian control and representative governance may tip in favor of those who command such lethal instruments. Over time, this may foster an environment where dissent is not merely discouraged, but actively preempted through the mere possibility of decisive intervention. While this might engender a temporary period of stability and order, it also poses the danger of stifling political debate and curtailing the evolution of more pluralistic institutions. The cultural landscape is also bound to be reshaped by the enduring presence of the killing machine. In communities where the operative's reputation becomes synonymous with ultimate enforcement, long-standing values such as mercy, rehabilitation, and reform may gradually be supplanted by a culture of deterrence and retribution. Public perceptions of justice could evolve to favor expedient solutions over more traditional notions of due process, with the result that social institutions might increasingly reflect a binary view of loyalty versus treachery. This transformation may yield a society that is more secure in the short term, yet less resilient in its ability to adapt to complex moral and ethical challenges. Such a shift carries the dual risk of fostering an atmosphere of fear and encouraging a cycle of perpetual violence, where extreme measures become the default response to emerging threats. Technological advancements inspired by the operative's design and operational success are likely to have far-reaching consequences. Innovations in cybernetics, integrated weapon systems, and real-time data analysis could revolutionize the way security forces operate, setting new benchmarks for performance that ripple across multiple sectors. Industries may emerge that focus on refining these technologies, leading to breakthroughs that extend beyond military applications into areas such as emergency response and public safety. However, as these advancements proliferate, they will also raise critical questions about oversight, accountability, and the potential for misuse. In the long run, the technological legacy of the killing machine might become a double-edged sword, driving progress in certain areas while simultaneously exacerbating the risks of centralized surveillance and loss of individual autonomy. Philosophically, the long-term significance of this operative challenges fundamental beliefs about the nature of agency and the ethical limits of state power. As future generations reflect on an era defined by such extremes, debates will likely intensify around the trade-offs between security and freedom. The narrative of an operative designed for absolute eradication may come to symbolize a turning point in societal values, prompting introspection about what must be sacrificed in the name of survival. While some may view this as a necessary adaptation to an increasingly hostile environment, others will regard it as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the pursuit of order at any cost can lead to unforeseen erosion of civil liberties and human dignity. Moreover, the operative's impact on interstellar relations cannot be underestimated. Its reputation as a decisive agent of the state is likely to influence how neighboring realms, rival powers, and rebellious factions calibrate their own strategies. A new era of deterrence may emerge, where potential adversaries are compelled to consider the high price of provocation. This might encourage an atmosphere of cautious negotiation and pragmatic alliances, even among erstwhile enemies. Alternatively, the overwhelming display of power could also incite desperate measures among those who feel cornered, sparking conflicts that escalate into larger wars. Thus, the operative's long-term effect on diplomatic and military balances is fraught with both promise and peril. In sum, the legacy of the killing machine extends far beyond its immediate tactical achievements. Its integration into the framework of state power and security is set to bring profound changes across multiple dimensions, altering military strategy, consolidating political authority, reshaping cultural values, driving technological innovation, and provoking deep ethical debates. Whether these changes will ultimately lead to a more secure and orderly future, or precipitate a decline in the very principles that underpin a just society, remains an open question. As the universe continues to evolve under the shadow of this formidable force, the dual potential for both progress and regression stands as a testament to the enduring complexity of balancing survival with the preservation of humanity.